Let's make cauliflower 2 ways. First things first. So before we dive into the cauliflower, we are going to make a couple things to go with our steak and mash. First up is a parsley raisin vinaigrette. Finely chop up some parsley and add it to a bowl. Next, mince or finely chop up half or 1 clove of garlic. Then add some extra virgin olive oil, apple cider vinegar, season with salt, freshly cracked pepper, and chili flakes for heat. And lastly, golden raisins. Yes, raisins, trust me, they're gonna plump up and almost pickle, and they're just gonna be a really nice pop of flavor. Give everything a mix, taste and adjust any seasonings, and just set that aside. Next up is our garnish, crispy shallots. I always make a bunch because eating these on their own are very addictive. You'll be eating them while you cook this whole recipe. So I have about 6 shallots, and I still think it's not enough, so I will have to have some discipline and try not to eat them. With a knife, you can slice up the shallots, or you can use a mandolin. Then in a pot, add enough oil to cover the shallots. We're just gonna do a shallow fry with these. Use any neutral oil you like. Mix the shallots around to make sure that you have enough oil. Turn the heat to medium to high and fry. Keep mixing the shallots around, and after about 5 to 6 minutes, they will start to brown. At this point, keep a close eye on them as they can quickly burn. Once they start to get a nice light brown, remove. They're gonna continue to cook just a little bit afterwards, so this is all about timing. Remove and drain the shallots and place onto a sheet pan lined with paper towel to absorb any excess oil. Season with salt, spread apart, and let cool, dry, and crisp up. Now it's time for the cauliflower power. After cleaning your cauliflower, start by removing any leaves, but keep the ones that are tender and green. Disregard any browned leaves. We are going to use every part of the cauliflower, and the leaves will be a part of the mash. Chop up the stems and leaves and add to a bowl. Continue to trim the cauliflower, but keeping the core intact, as it will help keep the steak together when we slice it. Depending on the size of your cauliflower, this is going to depend how many steaks you can get. I'm cutting 2 steaks as I want to make more mash. Slice the cauliflower in half. Staying close to the center, slice the thickness of steak that you want. The end pieces are what we are going to use for the mash. Trim your steaks up a bit, and with the remaining cauliflower, chop up and add to a bowl with the leaves, and then we have our steak and mash ready to go. For the mash, I'm going to steam, but you can even roast or boil. Whichever method you choose, just cook until fork tender. For the mash, use a blender or a food processor. I'm going with a blender because look at the size of this food processor. It would take me multiple times. Plus, a blender is great because you can get a really nice smooth puree. Add the cooked cauliflower to the blender, along with some heavy cream, butter, season with salt and freshly cracked pepper, and now it's time for some cheese. Believe it or not, I still have some provolone dolce left over from my last video, the Phil Leotardo grilled cheese from The Sopranos. So add some provolone dolce and blend until you get the consistency you are looking for. Taste and adjust any seasonings. Now it's time for the steak. Add a little bit of neutral oil, enough to cover your pan on medium to high heat. I'm using some of the oil I fried the shallots in, and as you wait for the oil to heat up, season the steaks with salt and freshly cracked pepper on both sides, and then place into your pan and fry until you get a nice sear and crust. If you have a weight press, use it. It'll help with surface area and just achieve a nice even color. Flip your steaks and continue to sear. The steaks are done when you can easily pierce a knife through the cauliflower. If after browning both sides and the steaks aren't fully cooked, you can add a splash of water and cover with a lid, bring the heat down a little bit, and steam until cooked. Just before removing, it's time to baste. Add a couple cloves of garlic, some rosemary sprigs, and lots of butter. And one secret ingredient, which is a powerhouse in my opinion, Maggi seasoning. If you have it, add a few drops and baste your steaks. Maggi seasoning is a nice little bomb of umami flavor, and it's going to enhance the flavor of everything. Once you're done basting, you can remove, and now it's time to plate. Add your mash on the bottom of the plate, and then lay your steak on top. Add that parsley raisin vinaigrette, the crispy shallots, and bring it to the table. All right, if you're in the boat where you think cauliflower is bland, then you need to make this dish because it is incredible. The cauliflower mash is creamy, cheesy, and smooth. So much flavor there. The cauliflower steak is cooked to perfection. You get that little crust on the outside, all that flavor, and then that little vinaigrette with the raisins. Trust me on the raisins, it just adds a nice pop of flavor and sweetness to the overall dish. And then the fried shallots, I mean, what a nice little treat. I hope you give this recipe a go. And as always, the full recipe is in the link in the description below. Please like and comment. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, ciao.